Welcome to Tech Talk with R&E Automated. I'm your host, Jordan Dieterle. Join us as we dive into the world of automation and manufacturing, bringing you expert insights from industrial professionals and business leaders. Whether you're a business owner, engineer, or simply passionate about technology, this podcast is your go-to source for the latest trends and innovations in the field. Welcome, everybody, to Tech Talk with R&E Automated. I'm your host, Jordan Dieterle. I got Markus Rimmele here with Digitalium. Hi, Markus. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and thanks for having me, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join me on Tech Talk with R&E. I'm looking forward to this one. You've got some really cool things to talk about here. I want to first, give our audience a general description or an idea of, hey, how did you go about creating Digitalium from the start, right? I'm just interested in that. I wanted to come right out of the gate and just say, I want to know how you decided I'm going to go into ownership of, a company. It's just interesting to me. I know you came from Germany, and it's one of those things that I love the entrepreneurship part of the journey. So I'm just I wanted to, come right out of the gate with that one because I think it's going to be interesting to see, and I want to hear about it as well. So for our listeners, can you explain that?
Yes, for sure. And I'm happy to tell about my journey. So the quick answer is I didn't wake up when I was a young boy and said I want to become an entrepreneur. Was actually completely different. I decided to start my professional career in Germany with an apprenticeship to become a mechatronic, the best of the mechanical world and the electronic world, and had the luck of going through a real good apprenticeship program with Deutsche Telekom back in the days, which is the owner of T-Mobile, for example. But as they were going through restructuring back in the day, becoming from a government company to a shareholder company, they laid off all their young employees. And that brought me actually in the machine building world, building textile machines for a small company with 20 people, also in South Germany. And about a half year in the job, the owner and engineer and everything told me, "Hey, Markus, this machine, what you're putting together, I sold that to Malaysia. And by the way, you are setting it up." That was the young Markus with 20 years. We learned English at school. We had to learn English back in the days, mandatory. But English wasn't always my big thing. Back in the days, I thought it's completely unnecessary to learn that. Until they throw me in the deep cold water and sent me to Malaysia and set up that machine. And from there, it kind of spiked something in me, and I loved the travel and the exploration of doing that job, being a service person, and helping people all over the world in bringing machines to life. And with further education in electrical engineering, went then into a bigger company. They eventually sent me then 16 years ago to the US to do major installations all over there. I started in California, then New Mexico, and then ended up in the Atlanta, Georgia area where I'm residing now. Went there further in the journey, went into field service management, did my MBA at Georgia State, and worked lastly for another German machine builder in the packaging industry. Unfortunately, during the COVID times, they decided to shut down their US operation and let everybody go. And that was for me then the point to say, what do I actually want to do? What do I enjoy? And as I always seen the problems out in manufacturing and the dilemmas we're dealing with when buzzwords like skills gap and labor shortage was not even a thing. I always thought that that tools under the umbrella of digitalization can actually help and solve problems. And I was very interested in learning about all of these new things. And that eventually brought me to say, hey, I want to start a business in that particular area and help the industry with that. And that's how I founded the Digitalitum 3 years ago, and I'm still in it, and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, you know, 20 years of experience and like, all right, I'm gonna go and just create a company during COVID and make it happen, right? And make it work. So what tools does Digitalium have in its like toolbox, right? I know
Yeah,
like it's like virtual reality, you've got some uh LOTI is a stuff is say you've got AI. What are those tools is and how do you utilize those to help
yeah.
manufacturers be successful or even implement them for them, right? So
Yeah.
can you kind of give me some examples on that? And they say explain what your guys' toolbox provides.
Yes, let me explain first why I call it digital tools.
Yeah.
As we're both in the manufacturing mechatronic area, we both own a toolbox.
Mhm.
And in a toolbox, we traditionally have a lot of different tools like pliers, screwdrivers, wrenches. And if you look deeper into this, we need all these different tools because each of these tools can normally do only kind of one thing. And as we have to do a bunch of different tasks, we need a bunch of different tools. And your toolbox looks different than my toolbox. It's also individual and customized.
Mhm.
Um, and this is what I call the analog tools, which you can call in hand. On the other hand, we have that thing, that electronic device, which is mostly in everybody's topic called a smartphone. And even this thing had a lot of digital tools or apps. And again, there's not like one app which can do all and everything. There's a bunch of different apps, and on your phone, you are using different apps than I'm using. Most likely, there's an overlapping, um, but
Mhm.
again, different tools. And so I see tools as a specific way of solving a specific problem,
Yeah.
and that's what I call the digital tools, using different technologies from immersive AR, VR to IoT to AI to um, additive manufacturing and you name it. But these are the technologies, and then underneath comes the different tools and use cases. As for example, in virtual reality, you can do a bunch of different things and solve a bunch of different problems. Let's dive a little bit deeper on this, just on an
Mhm.
example. Virtual reality gives you the opportunity to put a 3D object in a real 3D world. That's
Yeah.
the main point.
Mhm.
And with this, you can use it, for example, for planning. We have one tool in our portfolio for shop floor planning, where you can plan your manufacturing shop floor in virtual reality. And then the additional advantage is if you build that all up in virtual reality, you actually can test it before you build it and check the performance, the cycle time, and the manual operations ergonomics on it, and plan therefore better, because everything what you can simulate and try before you build it, before you hammer it in stone and make it fix, um, that helps you to make that perfect product. In this case, a customized manufacturing shop floor to assemble your product, for example. The
Yeah.
other use case we have a tool on is the topic of technical training, which is close to what you guys do at R&E Automated. Um, let's take the example of a technical training on a complex piece of machinery, which traditionally happens in person at that location where you teach a new maintenance or field service person how to disassemble certain things, for example, to replace a filter,
Mm.
which is a classic hands-on job, and it's a workflow. Do this, do this, do this. If you do that in a technical document, in a highly engineered text, the understanding and the retention rate is pretty low. If you do it in a video, that's already better. But still, the retention rate is kind of low, as people then do other things while watching the video. But if you do it in virtual reality with the glasses on, using your hands and virtually disassemble that machine, it kind of gets you into that muscle memory as if you do it yourself. An
Mm.
additional advantage is you're independent of a location. So you don't need to be where that machine is, and you're independent of any timeline. As, for example, if that machine is in operation and you do a training on that, you have to actually shut it down, and you have to find that time, which is maybe in the middle of the night, when there's no production, where in a night shift you have to do a training, which is, let's just say, inconvenient as well for most people. um, and so
Yes.
by being independent of a location and independent of any type of timeline, you can do the training whenever you want, at every location you want. You just need a few square feet of free space, a virtual reality headset, and of course that app with all the software on it.
That's interesting, because I could easily see, R&E utilizing that technology when, hey, before we fly them out, they want something specific, right? We just, send them, here is, the goggles, they say the VR headset,
Mhm.
and here's the data that's needed. They say, go ahead and, disassemble it and put it back together before you even go to the customer site, so that, hey, when you get there, that, hey, it's going to be, you're going to know what you're looking at, and, you're going to complete it correctly.
Yeah,
Right. So it's almost like, your training is, say, people before they're actually even on site sometimes, and benefiting, in advancements and trying to solve problems before they even arise, right?
yeah.
And that's kind of what Digitalium is looking to do, but it's with, technology. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to get at is, how is Digitalium staying ahead of the advancements in technology as it continues to advance? Or are you just kind of moving along with it and bringing customers along with it as well?
um, Couple of things. On one side, I have my experience in the field, being in hundreds of different factories all around the world, in different industries, from automotive to medical device to others. And on the other hand, my interest in digitalization, kind of trying to stay on top of things. And then thirdly, I'm a volunteer in a industry group, the Reliability Leadership Consortium, and their digitalization consortium, where we have a bunch of industry practitioners sharing their knowledge, creating frameworks. We put that know-how into books, which are published and ready to buy. And there are a couple of books already on the market with me as a contributor.
Oh,
And then we
nice.
also present this content on industry conferences like the Maximo World or the Industrial Maintenance Conference, and stuff like that, where then I talk about these topics. And uh, industry conferences are, in my point of view, a general good thing. You learn, you network, and you get viewpoints from other industries in how they do things, and that kind of gives you an idea in how you could do things in your industry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the conferences, when you're learning from, other people. I mean, I think we both probably learned from each other just on this podcast, right?
Hmm.
I'm learning, hey, say there's a whole bunch of tools that you can use, um, and, take advantage of, I mean, even, for my, the field service side, I could easily see these being used. Um, so what with all these tools to say, and the advancements and always staying ahead, what is some of the challenges that DigitalituM finds, to say, when facing these, and how are you overcoming them when customers, to say, come to you? Like, I mean, for instance, like a customer has an issue and they just can't solve it. I mean, is it just the
Mhm.
products that you're providing, or is it more, right? I mean, obviously your knowledge is one, a huge part of this, but I mean, what else is there to, hey, how do you solve these challenges, or how does the company help solve these challenges for your customers?
That's a big question, so I need to a little bit expand on that. Um, First of all, what I see currently in industry is that a lot of people are overwhelmed with everything under the umbrella of digitalization. Why? Because there's so much new things, and every day there's another AI tool which you see
Yep.
through social media and stuff like that. And on the other hand, a lot of specifically smaller, medium companies are kind of behind on things. Why? They focus on what they're doing, and they often don't have the extra capacities in personal and time to really dive into what problems could everything under the umbrella of digitalization solve things in our business, and how could it bring us further ahead on the whole thing. So in my point of view, everything first starts with understanding the problems they have, which I think I'm good at because I'm out of the industry and know what's going on, and then kind of put a roadmap together to what do we want to solve, and how we want to solve it, kind of in a step by step plan, as you cannot do everything at the same time. I recently actually did a certification with Sesame, the Clean Energy Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. It's one
That
of
was a
these
mouthful.
17 institutes under the umbrella of the Department of Energy, which focus on helping manufacturers with all these different challenges. And they actually brought a specific roadmap tool out to help or to help manufacturers through third-party consultants like me to go through a specific survey to figure out where are these manufacturers in their journey, and then with understanding their business model and their current state of their manufacturing operations, define a roadmap. What should be the next steps in doing this, doing this, doing this? And not only from a pure digitalization standpoint, also kind of building a base with, for example, a continuous improvement framework, which is very important to have that in a corporation, and have the people, the processes, and the technologies aligned together. As the challenge in the market is, a lot of vendors tell companies, yeah, you have to buy my product and then all the problems are solved. Uh,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not the case. And then again, implementation of a product or of a digital product is the key, as you can have that new shiny tool in your toolbox, but if nobody knows how to operate or don't want to know how to, then you have a problem. And this don't want to can be attributed to, if there's a rumor under the employees that this new digital thing will take your job away, and rumors like this come up easily,
Hmm.
um, they of course like, we don't want to do with that, and yeah, you better go away, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So there's always change management involved into that whole story as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, anytime you bring, like, automation or, an advancement into manufacturing, sometimes it can go that way, right? And, people are afraid that they'll lose their job when in reality, you say you're trying to, help them, make their job better and make
Yeah.
it more successful. Um, and while you're speaking, I kind of pinpointed one thing you said is you're creating a plan for a customer or your clients, and you're building that plan up for them. Could you share like a success story of like, hey, I built this plan like that would, help this end customer kind of, solve their problem, and at the end of the day, like it could be, like we laid out their plan and saved them, a couple 100,000 or, whatever. It could be anything, right? But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it paid for the product. It was worth the time. It was worth their investment to invest into Digitalium to help them out overall, right? So, do you have something like that? Say where you could
Yeah,
share?
a recent project we did was for a local manufacturer here, and they moved from a smaller location into a bigger location with more space. And initially, they were doing the whole planning of where they want to put everything with the classic whiteboard method. In yeah, we're putting that here, there, and do it like this. We then got involved and did their whole planning in that virtual reality planning tool. First of all, visualizing the whole thing in 3D and let them walk through and experience the space. But then also going through that performance test and actually doing a manual assembly in virtual reality and figuring out, does it really work the way how we thought it worked. Um, to make really that perfect plan and then build it that way. And they just had recently their grand opening with it, and everybody was happy in the way how the new space is designed.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So it was like, hey, this is worth every penny because we literally could find, I mean, they could find any problem, and they say it could be small, it could be big. I mean, in, placing their machines or,
Yeah,
laying it out. I mean, it was just an advantage. No, that's really
exactly,
good. I mean, that's always, and it's at the end of the day, it's always just helping your clients to say build upon it, right? So, and
exactly.
they'll call you again. Hey, when they're looking to put some new machinery in, we want to walk through this machine in VR, and see what it looks like, right? So
Yeah,
no, that's
that
great. That's awesome. So obviously, I say like you being an entrepreneur, I wanted to kind of like, pick your brain a little bit. You know, in the industry and automation and manufacturing, I'm like, hey, I always ask and say like, people that are, running their own company, it's a challenge. And, you sometimes you're looking for like, who's my next customer? Where, where am I, or how am I going to advance my product to say, and I always wanted to, get advice to say like from entrepreneurs, like, what would you recommend for, young individuals entering the tech industry today? Like, and how would you approach this? And, for that, or how would you approach this if you were in their shoes right now in
Mhm.
this industry? So,
In my personal point of view, learn something kind of like a trade where you can base on get get experience in a particular industry and then find in there a problem, and every industry has a problem which you can solve,
yeah,
and then build on that idea. That's kind of my general advice.
yeah,
um, some do it in take a few decades in the industry to come up with that idea. Some of them do it earlier. There's never the right time. It's the right time for you uh, to find that. And being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, if you're on your own, it has its pros and cons. Um, Financially, in the beginning, it's always a hard one to build up these relationships and getting the first orders in. On the other hand, you have the freedom of doing things how you want it. There is no corporate policy you have to follow, which is a big challenge, in my point of view, in big corporations with all the bureaucracy involved, which is a lot of times, in my point of view, also a break for innovation, as good ideas do not really get through because there's always that, oh, we cannot do it because of this and this.
Hmm.
um, while
Yeah.
in a small corporation, which is the good thing about small corporations, you're flexible, you can do things, and there's more of this just do it mentality. And if it fails, it's a lesson learned, and go to the next thing.
Yeah.
um, so I enjoy what I do, have that flexibility and that freedom of doing things the way how I think with my experience is a good way of doing things, and doing a lot of different things, like being a part of a volunteer group, going on the trade shows I want to go, and don't ask for permission. Hey, boss, can I go to IMTS in Chicago, where the hotel night is $500, which is above the corporate policy, because you cannot go into a
Yes.
hotel which costs more than $150 and stuff like that.
Yes, it
Um,
was expensive, but it was fun. It
yeah,
was fun.
but that's just an example of a challenge you have as an employee in a large corporation a lot of times.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And yeah, no, that's great. That's fantastic advice. Like, it gives, it's like you said, it's a learn a skill, learn a trade, or, you know, gain that knowledge, and then, venture out, yes, you might have to be an employee to start, but then you can venture out, and learn. And I always, for me personally, I say, like, in the field with Arnie, I always treated being in the field with Arnie as I was working for myself. I was building a
Hmm.
clientele, always representing, because we're not a top-down management company. We're very, hey, you're traveling, you could be by yourself on a job, right? So I always looked at that, and you got to use the tools that you have, and that learned over, years of working, right? So yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's a good way to present it. So I kind of to wrap things up here, I wanted to see what exciting developments can we expect from Digitalium, here in the future?
Overall, we're expanding our digital toolbox and finding other startups with innovative products under the umbrella of digitalization, solving specific issues. And as with your toolbox, when you go to Home Depot, there's always another tool you want to buy, which you
Yeah.
don't have yet, right?
Yep.
Kind of similar with me. There's always another tool out there which I need to explore and see if this tool has a market in the US as well. I believe there's a market, as we are strong in manufacturing, and there are all these issues out there with, you mentioned, labor shortage, skill shortage, and all of these things, where this could be all different solutions. And
Yeah.
I see digitalization overall as an opportunity to get better, faster, more efficient, and to add more value to your end client. I don't see it as a way to take away jobs and make us all unemployed.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm
No.
not that opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Yeah, well, Marcus, I appreciate it. Say it was a lot of fun here. How can everybody connect with you? Say on, that would like to connect with you, that kind of view the podcast here. What's the best way that they can reach you?
Several different ways. On LinkedIn, you could find me, Markus Rimmele, the man with the yellow hat. My website is www.digitalitum.com. And I think, Jordan, you put that all in the show notes. I have my
Yep.
own podcast as well, the Digitalitum podcast, at the intersection of manufacturing and digital transformation. where I talk with peers in the industry about specific problems and solutions, how to make things better and more efficient and solve the problems and dilemmas we have in the industry. And then you may find me in person on industry trade shows and conferences. And I live in the Atlanta, Georgia area. But for example, the Greenville, South Carolina area is a location where I go a lot as there is a lot of manufacturing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Well, I appreciate it. Hey, listeners, I'll put this in the show notes and yeah, please connect with Markus. I mean, he's got a lot of digitalization you know, options in his toolbox that, could help you out in the future. And I think it's a great way to, hey, network and build on, your manufacturing space or, grow in a avenue where he might be able to solve a problem for you. So please connect with him. And I hope everybody has a great day. I'm Jordan Dieterle and I'm signing off. Thank you.